Hello, my name is Jim, and we'll be talking about this Dewalt 20-volt drill today on
Kilimanjaro.
This is the Dewalt DCD709 Cordless Hammer Drill. So Dewalt calls this a 20-volt drill. That's the same as every other manufacturer's 18-volt. It's the same battery chemistry, same amount of power, just that Dewalt calls it the maximum battery voltage. Every other manufacturer calls it the nominal battery voltage, but it's all the same. So don't be fooled thinking you get a little bit extra power there with that extra 2 volts. So Dewalt positions this as kind of their second from the top of the line drill. They have a whole bunch of different drills made at a bunch of different factories. This one's made in Mexico. There's one that's a little bit more expensive. This one costs about $140 as a bare tool, although there are sales, various deals, various combos that you can get. Right now I noticed Amazon has it for about $80 if you want to get that. That sounds like a pretty good deal. The one that's a little bit more expensive has a metal chuck, a couple other pieces are metal. It is substantially heavier though, and I don't think it has any more power. So I think this one's actually a little bit of a better deal because it is lighter. And these plastic chucks have held up just fine in my opinion. They're actually a little bit easier to grip. The metal ones, instead of having bumps on them, are usually scored and to give you grip, and that is a little bit more difficult, particularly if you've got a little bit of oil or something on there. I find that these plastic chucks are actually a little bit easier to grip. Speaking of the chuck, this is a 1/2 inch chuck. It can take a drill bit with up to a 1/2 inch shank. Some drill bits will have a reduced shank that'll let you fit an even larger bit in there, but if it doesn't have a reduced shank, 1/2 inch is your limit. This chuck is also nice because it'll go down to a 1/16 of an inch. Most drill chucks are bored. The little center there, you can see there's a little circle. On a lot of drills, that won't go down to be able to clamp onto a 1/16 of an inch drill. So that lets the manufacturer be a little sloppier with their tolerances, but it means that you can't drill really small holes if you need to. I'll show you that in a minute. So like most drills now, it's got a 2-speed, it's got a 1-speed and a 2, and that goes from 450 on the low speed to 1650 on the high speed, pretty standard. It also has a selector up here for the hammer setting. Now this is not like a rotary hammer, you're not going to be drilling giant holes through solid block with this. But if you want to drill some holes to put some concrete anchors in or something, this should work pretty well. And I'll show you that in a minute. It also has the typical clutch. I don't really ever use this. I don't find it particularly useful. I don't usually use a drill to drive screws anymore. I'll use an impact driver. So I don't find that feature particularly useful. Let me know in the comments if you do use it, if you know some particular use of why you want to be using this. They tend to not be consistent enough if you want to perfectly countersink a hole. Plus with a variable speed trigger here, there's really no need for it. So that's about it for the drill itself. It does have a little light at the bottom to shine on what you're working on. It's not the brightest light in the world. It's one thing I wish was a little bit better about that. The little one that's a little more expensive actually has one that you can aim, which could be useful. Could also mean that you're going to bump it and it gets knocked out of position. This one also has the option for a belt hook. It comes with the kit. I don't have it on there. I tend to find that it just gets in the way because I'm usually just down here in the workshop. But if you're out on a site, very useful to put that on, and you can put that on either side, left or right side. It's a nice beefy metal clip. And if you like a lanyard, there's a little hook on the back where you could put a lanyard through as well. This drill is part of Dewalt's Atomic line. They call that their compact line. I really like these because of their smaller size and lighter weight. Compared to this, it used to be Milwaukee's top of the line driver. It's got a metal chuck and everything like that. It's quite a bit smaller. If you look at the size here, this one, the Dewalt one, is about 1 inch shorter this way. It's about 1/4 inch. The diameter of these barrels, about 1/4 inch smaller. That lets you get into tighter places. If you've got it in between 2 rafters with a bit on it, this is a lot easier to get in there. Similarly, if you're trying to get up against a wall here, having a smaller diameter here means you can get in a little bit tighter there. Very handy to have. Now I do wish, this is the other impact driver that came with that kit. It is super stubby. The motor on it is only about that big. The motor on this one is substantially larger. I don't know if the motors put out the same amount of power, but it does seem like there's still some room for improvement to be able to get that motor, maybe the gear case down to be a little bit smaller. I would also like it if they would remove that clutch that's in here. I bet that would allow you to make this even smaller still. So that would be something nice to see going forward. All right, let's drill some holes here. So I've got a 1/16 of an inch diameter drill bit here just to show you how that works. So this is just a regular piece of 2x4 here, so we'll drill a hole. Looks like I had it on the hammer setting there, but as you can tell, no problems working with that. Okay, now we're going to switch up to a 1/2 inch diameter. This is just a twist drill that does have a reduced shank. Do that. No problem with that. So now for something a little bit more challenging, we've got an 1.5 inch diameter spade bit here. you can see it did stall when it was just about to break through, but this is a very large diameter drill bit for this little drill here. So I do have these Powerstack batteries are what I'm using, and it was fully charged when I started there, and you can see it still is. I've got a brick here to try out the hammer function on this drill. So I've got it switched over to the hammer function on speed 2. I've got a 3/16" diameter carbide masonry bit in here. And I will say this brick is much harder. It's much more like ceramic-y feeling than the bricks that I have on my house. So I suspect this is going to have a little bit more difficulty than at least with the older style bricks that I have. Okay, so you can see it can do it. That is I'm not gonna say it's a large hole, but it's larger than you would use for like a normal style, just masonry anchor there. It is quite noisy. I probably should have had some earring protection on it for that. Like I said though, this is a super hard brick and it is able to do it. I wouldn't want to do a whole pile of holes with this though. Let's try drilling through a concrete block here now. This should be a lot easier than that brick was, and it'll also be a lot easier than drilling through a poured concrete foundation. These blocks are a lot softer, a lot easier to drill through than poured concrete as well. But still something you might want to have to do if you want to put some anchors into this to hang up some shelves or something like that. So you can see that was a lot easier. I really like this Dewalt drill. I think it's the perfect combination of size and power. It's got a little bit more power than the 12-volt drills, but it's significantly lighter than their top of the line drill that has a metal chuck and some other metal bits on it. Really makes it a lot heavier. This is a lot easier to use. The other thing is it's not just about how much the thing weighs, it's also about where that mass is. If you've got a lot of mass far away from your hand, it can be a lot more difficult to move, particularly when you're trying to put the tip of a drill bit in a particular spot. This one has a lot of its mass in the handle, so it feels even lighter than it weighs. So I got this as part of this kit, as I mentioned. Now, one thing that these kit came with is these little Powerstack batteries. I really like these batteries. They're 1.7 amp hours, so they don't last the longest, and they're probably not great in things that aren't, drills. If you want to use them in a circular saw or something like that, it's probably not the greatest. But for these drills, they're super convenient. If you look at them compared to this is the Milwaukee battery that's about the same size. This is 1.5 amp hours. You can see it's quite a bit smaller. It's also a little bit lighter, not super much lighter, but it is quite a bit smaller. So having it smaller makes it easier to get into tight places with it, and just feels better in the hand. Speaking of that, the ergonomics on this are fantastic. Recently I've been using this to tap a bunch of holes, which means I'm constantly flipping between the forward and the reverse. Very easy to do. It's right where my thumb or the part of my finger is, so it's really easy to reach. Really like that about it. Switching it from the different modes feels very nice. It's very easy to do. And this switch up here, also nice and easy to move. So all the overmolding on here looks real nice and feels real nice as well. In particular, I really like this kit. So this is a kit which comes with this super tiny little stubby impact driver, and I really like this driver a lot. I've done a separate video on that, and both of these together I think is a fantastic kit. It's probably the best kit on the market today, and if you can get a good deal on it on sale, I think I got like $250 for both of these, which is a fantastic deal. It's not on sale, it's quite expensive. I think the retail price is like $450, but they frequently go on sale, so I'd suggest keeping an eye out for that. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.